Well, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us tonight for the Data Marketing Communications Ask Me Anything session. So what I would love to do to kind of get us started is to start off with some introductions. And I am the enrollment specialist for the Data Marketing Communications graduate program. So I'll be moderating the event tonight and asking our panelists some really wonderful questions. And at the end of the session, we'll invite you to share some of your questions as well. But before we begin, just some basic housekeeping to make sure that your audio is working correctly. If you already haven't done this, please go ahead and connect your audio. Now, Cindy, I suppose we can start off with you. If you guys could just talk a little bit about yourselves. And your level of expertise, your interest in DMC. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll start with Cindy.
Hi, I'm Cindy Greenglass. I teach the what we call the introductory course to DMC, DMC 660. I am a proud mountaineer. I'm a graduate of the IMC program, and they didn't have this program when I went to school for my master's, and so I took the IMC program and became really passionate about how fantastic the educational experience was and worked with the university to start the DMC program. So this is an awesome opportunity for all of you to be involved in something there's nothing like, and we'll hear all about it from past and current students. I'm also the Senior Vice President of Strategic Solutions at a data-driven communications company headquartered in Chicago, owned by a firm out of New York, where we drive both marketing communications, transactional payment, and engagement communications using data in healthcare, regulated industries like financial services, nonprofit, and education. That's a bit about me.
Hey everyone. Next, Drew, please.
I'm Drew. So I'm a senior copywriter at an agency called Latcha & Associates. So we specialize in automotive marketing. So we work with brands like Kia, Audi, Hyundai, Ford, a whole bunch of them, doing all kinds of different stuff. But I mainly work on what we call CRM, which is consumer relationship management, or I'm sorry, consumer relationship marketing. In your classes, you'll see it as consumer resource management as a software. Anyway, so I joined DMC because I really had noticed this gap that there was between the creative team, which is what I'm on, and our marketing intelligence teams. One of the first stories that came to mind about this was we had this email cadence, and they're like, oh, well, every 2 weeks is when we should send it out. That's when we're getting our best opens. Well, one of those 2 weeks fell on Christmas Day, and they were like, yes, we have to do this on Christmas Day. And we were like, no, we can't. It's going to be terrible. Nobody's answering their email on Christmas Day. So it was moments like that where I was like, I need to know more about data, I need to know more about strategy, and here I am in the DMC program.
Well, great, and thank you again to the three of you for joining us, as well as our participants today. We're really excited to get a lot of questions answered for you. Oh, and I'm so sorry, Shannon. Please, if you could go next.
No worries, Emily. My name is Shannon Nicholson. I'm currently the program director with graduate admissions at West Virginia University, and I graduated from the DMC program in 2017. I'm a double grad from the Reed College of Media. I graduated with public relations in May of 2014.
Okay, perfect. Thank you guys so much. We will go ahead and really get started with all of the questions that we have for you today in the Ask Me Anything session. So question number one, first and foremost, what made you decide to pursue a graduate degree in data marketing communications? And Shannon, we can start with you, and Cindy, if you could just talk to your level of expertise with this question as well, that would be great. So Shannon, we can get started with you.
Sure. So I kind of always knew I was interested in continuing my education past my undergrad, and initially I was looking for MBA programs because I did the tactical kind of stuff with the PR degree in undergrad, and saw that I needed to connect those things with business priorities. And when I was searching, I stumbled upon DMC. I was in the first class, and I was so happy to see that there was this program now that took that same ideas, of the MBA, the business mind, but really adapted it to the marketing mind. So that's how I kind of describe it to people, like, I don't want to say reverse MBA, but it takes those same principles and applies it in a way that I was comfortable with and I understood, was really a good groundwork to continue on. The time, like, while I was looking, I was working at a small local advertising agency in Morgantown, West Virginia, and I kept noticing that there was, disconnects, as Drew said earlier, between what, what the client was telling us their goal was, what we kind of saw as maybe their goal, how we could help them reach that, the emerging technologies, and really trying to just try it before really knowing what we were getting into, and then there's lost time and lost budget, and especially with these new technologies, knowing for sure that this is the way to go with your audience and what you're trying to accomplish. So with all of those things happening kind of a consistent way, I was like, there's something that needs to be done to align all of these things. And that's when I decided it's time to look for the degree and found DMC.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. And Cindy, if you wouldn't mind going next and just talking about, kind of your start in data marketing communications and what really drew you to the program, even as an IMC grad.
Yeah, so I think the big aha for me, I loved IMC very, very much, and all of us marketers that we're drawn to, whether it's omni-channel or integrated marketing communications, and there was much I learned in that program. I come from a data background, and what I see is that so many of us marketers shied away from the math in our undergrad, whether it was because we didn't feel comfortable in it, or we just are natural communicators, so we gravitated to what we were good at, which was communications. And then you get into the business world and you realize that a lot of what you need to understand to get a seat at the table and communicate with your colleagues as you move up through your different promotions and different parts of the business is you don't have that foundational understanding. What drives a business? How do businesses make a decision? In creative, like Drew was saying, if I'm going to write, I have to write for my audience. How do I understand very fundamentally who my audience is? How do I appreciate demographics and psychographics? So the opportunity to combine the art and science of marketing with data and inform your decision making so that you can create more meaningful campaigns and be a better communicator and a more successful communicator by combining both that data and analytics with all of the best practices of communication was a tremendous opportunity for us. And that's what I saw as the really exciting thing for this program. There really isn't another program that brings those two skill sets together. And it is a unique skill for many people. You can say that left brain, right brain. You have to be a little bit of both. You have to be able to be an outstanding communicator, and yet you have to have some of that curiosity and ability to interpret and ask questions and say, what does this mean, and bring the two sides together. And this program really helps you do that.
Very good. Thank you so much, Cindy. And Drew, what made you decide to pursue a graduate degree in data marketing
I
communications?
think Professor Greenglass said a lot of what I was thinking is that, again, there was this gap, like Shannon said, between creative and between marketing intelligence, and surprisingly, there are very few people who understand both sides of the coin. So being able to bridge that gap was the main thing that drew me to this program, especially because it is so unique in that it really focuses on how to take the data and turn it into a message. Because there's a lot of marketing intelligence degrees, and you can go to portfolio school or do whatever to make yourself a better creative, but there's nothing that really blends both of those together. And just in my short amount of experience, working in advertising, we're already held to standards that are all data-driven. If we're not showing that we're getting results or increasing a metric of some kind, or just hitting all the KPIs that we are laid out to by the client, we're going to lose funding, we're going to lose the client. So you have to understand that and have that foundation in order to really make as big of an impact as you can. So that's what drew me to the program, and honestly, just long term, I like big picture thinking, and I think this kind of allows you to do that because you get to look at the entire business, you get to look at everything you're doing in marketing, your whole digital strategy, and kind of put it together and create kind of a message for the whole brand. So that's what I liked about it.
Well, perfect. Thank you guys so much. We will go ahead and tackle question number 2. So what advice can you share with someone who is considering starting the DMC online graduate program? And again, Shannon, let's please start with you.
So I know, like Cindy said, we have, as communicators, maybe in our background have shied away from the math. I know that was never my strong suit. And when I talk to, students who are interested in this program now or trying to find a program like this, the term data, that shouldn't scare you by any means. I think what we learn most that kind of leans towards that is that we're breaking down silos more so than ever in the industry. So I might not be pulling all of the data or actually looking at it from like a statistical standpoint, but helping and working with someone on IT, like for example, someone on my team who can go in and pull those reports, and we work together and talk about what does this mean for our audience, for our goal, and then that informs, what I'm doing on social or what we're going to put in our emails. So it's really more about working together and breaking down those silos between your sales, your customer service, your marketing, IT. So like Drew said too, everyone is on the same page. There's a comprehensive plan and message. So don't let the data word scare you by any means.
Thank you so much. I 100% agree. So Cindy, for you as well, what advice would you share with someone who's considering starting the DMC program?
I would say if you're what Shannon brought up is this collaborative approach. If you work with members of the team that are involved in analytics, who pull data, who work with data at all, who are in finance, you're already halfway there because you're working with individuals who think differently than you, who you want to understand the way they think, who ask questions. So if you're ever in meetings or in conversations where you need to develop budgets, understand how to measure and present back your findings, figure out who your audiences are, work with people in different departments, this is a great opportunity because you're already working with people that are different than you. I always say that this is a program for people with intellectual curiosity. This is really about critical thinking. It is less about tell me that you can provide me with the facts back. A lot of us in undergrad we're given the textbooks and given the assignments and say if I read it and I do what I'm told, I can get great grades because I'm going to give you back exactly what you asked. This program is for people who have intellectual curiosity, who ask a lot of why, who are looking to take that thinking and critical thinking to say, but what does it mean and what do I do about that? And how can I stretch myself intellectually, but in a practical way? Because I'm going to apply this every single day in my job or in the next job if I'm looking to get ahead.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much, Cindy. And Drew, same question for you. What advice would you share with someone who's considering starting the DMC program?
Know how to manage your time. It is a lot of work, but it's all good. It's all very, very interesting. If you're interested in marketing at all, you'll be very interested in it. But yes, learn how to manage your time. Second, yes, do not be scared of the math. I am a writer. I do not do math. But this is all very, very interesting. It's behavioral math. It's how many people like this, how many people are doing that. It's not scary. Don't be afraid of the math. Lastly, I would say if you're considering it, if you're interested in all, if you really want to move ahead in marketing, you have to understand data pretty deeply. It's not going away. We're already, just in my experience, are using it daily to drive every strategy we make. So if you don't understand it, you're gonna fall behind. So know it.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. I honestly could not agree more. So thank you. Question number 3. How has data impacted your career? And Shannon, again, we will go ahead and start with you.
I can give a kind of specific example. So with graduate admissions, we're recruiting students who, would want to come to WVU for grad school, and one of the things we've done year over year is host an on-campus graduate fair. Actually, earlier today, before I came here, I was working on the report of all of the information, all of the data, all of the marketing channels that we use to engage students and get their participation, because specifically we were down in attendance. And I'm looking at trends in, why that might be. Were incentives enough to get people to pre-register and follow through with actually attending? What channel worked the best? Was it the email? Was it Facebook ads? And even further, the different creatives that we've used and which ones they were converting on is actually starting to show me which groups of students might have been more deliberate in their action versus just attending because they might win a prize. So really getting down into the nitty-gritty to say these are the different things that we were testing throughout the entire thing to, and actually for the emails, testing whether they're going to convert on a hyperlinked text or on a big button to work because they're visual. So, those types of things are really what I'm looking at, even for content specifically for social media, looking at the, what I call more of like the vanity metrics, but the likes, the shares, the comments to see, hey, that's getting their attention, that's going to get them here, and then what's the next step to get them, interested, whether that's the inquiry form or the application. But at the front of it, if that's the content that is getting their attention, we need to do more of it. So that's kind of how I look at it on a day-to-day.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like you were saying, how the content and the visuals still interact with the data. So very cool. Cindy?
Well, I'm a self-professed data geek, so I couldn't do anything without data. Data's my life. I'm like, they call me a little like halfway between the Matrix and the Rain Man. So the hardest thing for me was to run an agency and learn to understand the creative side and work with creative folks and bring that side of, that really stretched me quite a bit. And it does every day, think more creatively. But I will say that every single class I have a student who has told me that something they learned in the intro class or something they have learned in another class helped them when they were interviewing for a job. I've had several students who were promoted specifically because of work that they did in the program. I have a student in the capstone who just started a new job who said that her new boss was specifically stated that he was very impressed by the program and her commitment to the program and saw that as one of the factors in her getting the job. We do a lot of things in the program, not just with data, but in how to present data, storytelling in data, how to present to your boss, how to write the memo to get the budget approval, how to present your findings. These are very practical applications, and we've had, personally I've had students say, oh my God, I'm so thrilled that, we had that assignment because I used that specifically to go in and get, the budget I needed, and I've never been able to convince anybody up until now to do that. So I think it's the practical application, not just in the data. And also I just hear over and again that it gives you a sense of just quiet confidence, that you have a new sort of quiet swagger, that data doesn't intimidate you, and as a result, it does differentiate you when you're sitting in the conversations, even amongst your peers, even if you don't want to use this as a stepping stone in your career. And then, I was just at Integrate. Seems like it was just yesterday, but what was it, a couple of months ago now? And one of the current students I hadn't seen since the intro class came up to me and was thrilled. She was moving to Seattle. She just got hired by Amazon. And not that, that's a big goal of everybody to get hired by, a big company like Amazon. But again, another individual who said this program positioned her well to, to be competitive in the types of positions that were important to her. So while she may not have felt she had the hard skills yet in the job that she had up until now, her commitment through her education and what she's learning, and she could show from her assignments and from the thinking she had done in the class, offset the fact that she may not have had the years of experience that some of the other people competing for that job had. So I think there's a lot of real practical and pragmatic benefits that this program will have on your career, whether you choose to use it to move ahead or just to gain more, maybe credibility where you are today.
Sure. Okay, wonderful, Cindy. Thank you. And Drew, I know you're a newer student working your way through the program, but
Sure, yeah. Data has a massive impact on what I do, and the coolest part about it is that having a good understanding of data actually allows you to do more stuff creatively. So recently we did a campaign for Kia where they were launching a new vehicle, and everybody who was interested in the vehicle, we sent them a survey. And they answered a few questions like, I like to drive fast, I like to, take turns, I like to, whatever. And based on the answers, we were able to serve them a video that was personalized to their needs. So being able to take that data and transform that into a creative message, we wouldn't have been able to do that unless we understood the data, understood what we knew about those people. I mean, it was down to having their name in it, we had their dealership. So being able to pull all those sources together and understand the information you know about people actually allows you to do more things creatively. Like Professor Greenglass said, it also allows you to back up what you're saying. So earlier today, I was talking with a client, and he was adamant that the vehicle name has to go in the subject line. So I pulled up the data from some of our past reports, and I said, hey, to this audience, that doesn't work. We have had awful open rates every time we've tried this. It doesn't work. And he said, you're right. Let's go with your route. So it just gives you, A, the background to support your arguments. B, it allows you to actually do better things creatively. So, yes, go data.
Go data. Wait, I have to tell you, because Drew, just finished my class, but we do an introduction when everybody introduces themselves and, why they're in the program, a little bit about yourself, so we get and tell a little story about yourself. But the best line I think I'm going to steal, I can't steal it from you, Drew, because we need to cite it, but I got to give Drew attribution. Data is the new bacon. The whole class, the whole time we were talking about data is tastes better, it's way better even than bacon. So we have to give Drew props for that one.
well, that is awesome. So I'm glad that hopefully you had a wonderful first class as well. Okey-doke. So question number 4. Moving right along here. How are you utilizing
So to kind of talk about the graduate fair opportunity from the last question, everything that we're collecting now is going to be presented to the graduate stakeholders across campus, and it's going to be a discussion to say what do we do next year. We've seen this trend, and we've tried so many things, but it's still, attendance still decreased. So is it something we're going to continue, put the time and effort behind, or are we going to do something else? Also, I would say a majority of my work is done with content in social media. So looking, right now we're actually we started a campaign to try and get some more user-generated content from our audiences, like new applicants, current students, and students that have graduated in the past 3 years, because we actually just started an Instagram account last December, I believe, and every time I post something that is authentic and like real time, it by far outweighs anything else that we have, scheduled or is a little bit more branded. So by reaching out to our audiences and having them kind of crowdsource the content, it will change the engagement and the dynamic of our Instagram. So those types of things are what we're looking at. Also re-engaging in-progress applicants to get them to actually follow through. So that's one thing my graduate assistant and I were starting today is, writing a couple of different pieces of copy, getting some images to go with it so we can just throw it all into Ads Manager and kind of just test and test and test over the next, probably forever. It's something that we'll keep running to keep re-engaging that audience and get them to, go all the way through to.
Sure. Okay, great. Thank you, Shannon. And Cindy, with your level of experience, how would you say you're utilizing data to strategically inform
as well
marketing
as
decisions?
with my students and with my clients about how important it is to differentiate between reporting and analytics, and about data in and of itself. Using Drew's analogy with the car companies, data doesn't do anything. Data is an engine waiting for a car and a driver. And you take the engine and you put it in a nice looking car and you put nice, wheels on it. It still doesn't go anywhere. It takes the driver to get behind the wheel of the car and an expert driver to really make a car, hum and really make it perform. And we're the drivers. We're the people that make the car really operate. So data in and of itself doesn't do anything. So strategically, what we have to learn to do is take the findings, which is the reporting and the data, convert it to insight, which is the analysis that tells us the why, what does it mean, and then what are we going to do about it? What does that help me to make the next decision? Whether that decision is I'm validating what worked and what didn't, like Drew said, subject line testing, whether it's time of day, day a week, whether it's 1 day out, 3 days out. So you can validate your cadence tactically, or you can use it and say, sometimes I say, what is missing? Like, what did the data not tell me? Like, what's the answer I didn't get? Because now I know what I need to ask next. What's the thing that it didn't help me answer, so I know what I can go next time to get more information on, because it's not just tactical, but like the question asked, strategically, where do I go next? So data, either you look out the front through the windshield or you look through the rearview mirror. Sorry, Drew, I'm using all your car analogies here. But you always have to keep looking in the rearview mirror, right, every now and then. Where'd I come from? But what you want to use data that's informed is to help you look out the front. Where do you go next? What do I want to do next? Where do I take this? And that's what we learn in the program. We all share together.
Perfect.
Drew, I'm picking on your
Thank
car
you, Cindy,
analogy.
and I love all of these analogies, so keep it up, you guys.
Okay.
And Drew, we'll pass this.
Yeah, we use, again, I say we a lot because we work with, a marketing intelligence team for the most part, but one of the best examples of data that we're doing right now is we're actually using predictive modeling to tell when we can actually not market to people. So, for example, when, for say Audi, let's say you bring in your Audi 6 times for service over the 3 years you own it, those people don't buy another one. So we don't spend any money marketing them. We don't send them any emails. We don't communicate to them at all because we know they're not going to buy one. So we're using our budget, using data to use our budget more effectively and marketing it to people who will actually buy one and spending that, using the resources correctly as opposed to just everybody who owned one gets everything that we produce. So
Okay, thank you. And again, thank you to you guys for answering that question. Moving right along, question number 5.
So I think one way it will help you stand out is, as I mentioned before, it's breaking down the silos. And I think as an industry, kind of have to know a little bit of everything in a way to be able to talk to the different groups and work collaboratively. So I find that that's kind of what helped me get the role that I have now. Because when I was actually working with my current boss part-time beforehand, and she knew I was in the program. And, I would sit down with her and say, okay, like today I had my hands in, analytics and Facebook. We were writing emails and, we're communicating and educating across campus about what our office does. So it's all different things, and it all comes together. So I think that going through the DMC program and further understanding then the business side and how all those pieces will connect, and knowing a little bit of everything so you can have a seat at that table is what's really going to help. And
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think fortunately I was able to share some real examples of students that have shared with me the experiences. Not only do you learn the academic side of it, so we talk about financial metrics, we talk about social media metrics, we talk about how to quantify and measure and analyze and really think through a problem. But we also practically apply that. So you're taking what you're learning in the classroom, and you may not be able to apply it today in the current position you're in, but you may find that, lo and behold, something that you picked up in one of your classes comes in handy down the road when you never, or when you least expected it. It also gives you a language that is the language of business. And Shannon mentions that earlier, is that, we all have our own language. Marketing communications has its own language. PR has its own, language. I'm not a public relations professional, and I picked up all kinds of, acronyms and language when you're talking to crisis management people that Shannon, I know you know well. And so business has its own language too. And to be able to speak the language of business and combine the language of business with the language of communications will also differentiate you, because most non-marketing people don't really understand what we do. Okay, we may not understand what finance people do and other people do, but I can assure you people not in the marketing field do not understand what we do. And so our ability to talk their talk and be able to show them and quantify the value of what we do in their world makes a huge difference. Because a lot of times they'll say, well, you're marketing people, you talk great and you do fun stuff on the web, and but what do you really do? So to be able to talk that way and say, well, this is the impact that we have on conversion rates, on sales, on revenue streams, on fill in the, the dot. They'll be like, wow, I had no idea that that's the contribution that marketing can have in our business. So that's a way for you to stand out.
if I could interject before we talk to Drew, to that point, I think one thing that was always kind of a mystery to me, especially working a lot on social media, is people saying, what is the ROI of social? You're just posting something out there. But that was one of the biggest things when I came into my position, was immediately saying, okay, we know what we're spending, we know what our conversion rate is, we know how much tuition costs. If we can get those people all the way through, and even though at this time we're still kind of trying to work out how to go back and track those names, I know, at the end of the campaign, if we watch for these 25 people to go through an application, this is what we've earned from this amount of spend on this campaign. And I think that has been really eye-opening to say, for sure, everything in the time that we've spent will, or, could reach this as long as we keep up and we're tracking.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, well, first I apologize. I'm puppy wrangling a little bit here. If you haven't seen, I got an active little guy. But yeah, MC, it helps you stand out, in my opinion, just because you bridge all of the gaps. You understand the data, you understand the business side of it, you can understand the communications aspect of it, and then to Shannon's point, you can come to the table and say, yeah, we're going to do something, and these are the metrics we're going to get. This is how it's going to help our business. And you actually come to the table with points that everybody across a business can understand and can value, as opposed to, you see a lot of companies are actually moving away from things like broadcast TV and billboards because they can't justify the spends, where you'll have the ability to do marketing efforts and put content out there that you can back up, and then you can honestly, even just selfishly, you can go, these are all the things I did, this is why I deserve this promotion. So really, you can justify, your own work.
Thank you. Thank you so much, you guys. Now what we'll do is really open up the floor for our participants to any questions that they might have for you three panelists. So we're going to swap the screen out here for a second and get our chat going. But for the participants here today,
Well, while we're waiting, I want to know what type of puppy Drew has there. I'm intrigued. It looks like a Labradoodle or something.
He's a King Charles Cavalier and a poodle, and his name is Mr. Feeney.
Mr. Feeney. Oh my
Mr.
gosh, he's darling.
Mr. Feeney. Yeah, you being a little rascal though. Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right. Enough.
got a bonus guest tonight, it looks like. It looks like Michael to tackle the questions that we have from our participants tonight. Okay, so Michael's wondering, how heavy is the workload? Can I work a full-time job and still do well in this program?
Yeah, no problem.
So, Shannon, not to put you on the spot, but if you wouldn't mind starting with this one.
Different than other students in the program. I did not work while I was in the program, but I did juggle a graduate assistantship on campus. I was freelancing with a local company here in Morgantown and then doing the schoolwork. And one thing that I really valued was that the deadline did not change. Every class was the same, and you knew what to expect your Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so you could build everything else kind of around that. I know some students now grow in other online programs, and it's not that. Even, two classes at the same time might not have the same deadlines, and that would really
Well, I work full time. I have a staff, a large staff. I help run a company, a $100 million company. I travel all over the world, and I run the program. And one of the great things about the online program is the flexibility that it provides you to do the work wherever you are. It's a terrific. I think that the technology is terrific. It's advanced greatly. The university provides a great framework with the way they've developed the platform, and the cadence and the schedule allows you to communicate wherever you are, whenever you are. Yes, you have deadlines, but you can manage through them around your schedule. So I always say to my students, I know you've got a busy schedule. I got a busy schedule too. I work full time and do this, and if I can figure out how to do it, I know that you can too, really. It is manageable to do. I know, Drew, you were just back from Europe, and you managed it from, halfway around the world.
Discussion posting from Amsterdam, so it can be done. Yeah, is it a lot of work? Absolutely, but it's enjoyable work, and like they said, you can manage it completely around your schedule. One thing that I found really helpful was that as soon as the class starts, all of the information for the entire semester is up there. So if you have, I went on a photo shoot, was at a wedding for a whole weekend, and went on a trip to Europe, but I could work ahead and I could get everything done on my time.
Perfect. Thank you, Three.
Well, Shannon would probably be best since you did get a position after you graduated, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, one thing that I don't want to say is difficult, but don't be afraid of titles. I think it'll come down to what the job description is. Like, my title is program director, but I mainly do marketing. So really, I think any job, it makes you applicable to do anything that you're interested in doing. I mean, for example, I never thought I would work in higher education, so that was something new for me. But it's really the principles that you learn can be applied to, I think, any kind of marketing position. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else, but it wasn't. When I was looking too, it might be a little difficult. Read descriptions, because that might let you know a little bit more of what the position is than what the title says.
Well, I'm thinking of some of the positions that some of the folks that have been in the program or are in the program. So obviously marketing, public relations. Public relations has become so much more quantifiable, so much more data-driven. The metrics and the requirements to report out on data in PR, I mean, in some cases, I think that they've become even more data-driven, more insights-driven than some of our other peers in marketing. So I've seen that this background and grounding has helped folks in the PR profession. Certainly anyone who's in marketing automation, not the technology side of marketing automation, but in if you're interested in more of the workflow and getting more involved in working on marketing automation systems and everything that goes into drip campaigns, etc. Social media for sure, and within social media, again, like Shannon was saying, we've come a long way from likes and impressions, which nobody really reports out anymore, right? So social media has really matured out as well, and the folks that bring to social media a grounding in how to move through the sales funnel, like Shannon was talking about, from the top of the funnel, awareness and moving it through interest and conversion and tying it, even the way Shannon's talking about how do I tie my activities to a quantitative measure through the sales funnel. So social media folks are also doing very well in this program as well.
Just one. I also know some guys that we work with on our strategy team actually came from the political sphere too. I know that kind of marketing is completely data-driven. So if you're interested in that at all, obviously you can come join us fun folks in the automotive industry too, because we are all about our data. So there's a ton of opportunities.
One thing that I would say, sorry, Drew. Okay. One thing they do that I would say is to just be like knowledgeable of things going on in the industry. So I tend to get my news frequently through Twitter, so I follow a lot of, other marketing agencies, Ad Week, that kind of stuff, to just keep an eye on what's going on, and that helped really inform some of the conversations in our discussion posts. So it was really applicable to see what's happening, out there today and bring it into your discussion and your assignment and actually talk about the, application of what you're learning. So just being on top of, everything that's happening in the industry, I think would be helpful to prepare.
I think Drew was going to comment on that.
Yeah. Well, have a lot of fun because you're about to be busy. Other than that, I wouldn't worry about jumping back into school mode at all. I actually found that the school is coming easier after having worked. You know what to put into a project to make it really great, and you've got, the experience to
I have a current adult learner, a student in the class who just finished the introductory class and was really worried. That was one of the things that they were most worried about, hadn't been in school in a while, and hadn't been in an online environment, online school environment, because, it wasn't as prevalent when they were originally in undergrad, and, said it was so much better than they thought it was going to be, so much easier. That first class, you just got to figure out the technology and you got to figure out the cadence, like Shannon said. Every class is the same, like it runs on the same schedule. So once you get past it, you know when your deadlines are, you know how to post, you know how to post your assignments, you know how to get through the, homework Dropbox. Once you get on it, it is like riding a bike. It's the same. You don't have to learn it differently for every single class.
So I was just thinking, I was actually thinking kind of about this question recently about how there's so much data, and a term I heard was like data paralysis. Like there's just so much, and you just kind of are like, what do I do with all of this? And one thing that the program really helped me to like figure out was taking that step back, and again, what are you trying to achieve, and what's going to help you get there? So what really do you need to be looking at? There's so much, but specifically, what are the couple things that are going to tell you what you want to know, or as Cindy said, what you don't know? So for example, then every campaign that I create, I have the proposal, and they'll say, as we go along, these are the X amount of KPIs that we're going to look at on probably bi-weekly basis for social media, depending on how long the campaign is. And if those are good, then we're going in the right path. If they're bad, we need to make a change. And then at the end, what is our ultimate goal is, say the conversion. So that's what we're going to look at, instead of getting, knee deep in so many different data points and not sure where to go with it. And that's really helped guide, what we're looking at, and then how we're reporting it back, to the programs that we're working with.
I think you're asking the right question when you say, help me ask the right question. That is the right question to ask. It's all about asking the right questions. And so it's not so much about the data. It's about asking smart questions. And I think you will, just the fact that you ask the question, you're in the right place. Oh, Drew, you're a creator in the same position. That's you.
That's me.
Yeah.
I'm currently a creative. So that's exactly why I'm here too. So I think what this program really does, and even already, you know, I'm 1.5 classes deep, so not very far, but it's already kind of making me think in a different way of how can we do different creative executions. Mr. Feeney, I'm kind of in the middle of something. Sorry, he's being loud. How can you use this information you have to do different creative executions? I think the big thing that I've been using it so far with is personalization. How can we craft that message? Because this is going to sound weird, but it's actually not about big data. It's about finding how to personalize that data to individual person to make it seem like you're talking to just them. So different executions, different audience segmentations, you know, different lifestyles.
You know, I think the program relates to all industries. I would think real estate in particular is probably well suited to it because you have a lot of information, a lot of data. You have a lot of statistics. It's a very measurable field. Whether it's commercial real estate or residential real estate, you're already measured quite specifically. You have capacity, you have occupancy, you have availability. You're looking at how many days on market, you're looking at the sell price. So I think that you're already in a quantifiable industry that's used to a lot of facts and figures. I would think that it should relate very well. I don't know that we've ever had anyone from the real estate, specifically in the real estate market yet in the program I can speak to, but I would say it should be very natural. You know, and I'm thinking that maybe, Emily, this is a great follow-up for Zachary or anyone else who's interested, because you have those statistics, right, of the people in the program and what they do and what their roles and responsibilities are. And so that may be a good follow-up with the university, I would think. You know, I only hear from some of the students, as I've already shared, the roles that they're in. We have adult learners who come back and use their education in supervisory roles. We've had them for career change. We've had many students like Drew and Shannon here who've used it to develop their careers and get promotions, and so I think we've got a lot of different types. So maybe, Emily, that's something that you can reach back out to Zachary and give him some more detail on.
I feel, yeah, like the uniqueness, I know we've talked a lot about it, bridging the gap, and I think we're finding more and more. I think, personally, I look at things, and after going through this program, I'm like, I can't believe, they're not doing that or they haven't thought of that. So the more I, look around, I'm noticing it. So having this background to kind of see those holes and kind of understand what to do with it is what is unique about it. Is you're looking at it, like Drew said, big picture. You don't want to just focus on one piece of it. You have to focus on all of it to know how you're going to get from point A to point B. So I think that's the most unique part is, and also, like I said before, the breaking down the silos, working with every department, and it's a cohesive, collaboration.
Yes, Joe. It is an awesome program.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Oh, it looks like we just have a few things here. So that's wonderful.
I will just say one quick thing that in all the programs, or all the classes, we have our assignments, but for the most part, I felt we had creative freedom with how to execute the assignments. So for a few of them, for example, where we did like persona development, I actually created a graphic with a face and all of the things on it, which then at the end I can print or send, and I took it on my interview. So there was, with that freedom to go a little bit extra instead of just writing, say, a paper, then we had physical pieces that we could take with us and share for interviews or promotions, or just to even kind of inspire, in your current job or career to, take that from class and actually, apply it in your job.
Well, I think that this is a tremendous opportunity to develop not only your skills academically and practically, but to be part of a unique network of individuals that are unique. I mean, you're right, the program's relatively unique, but so are all of you, and so are all the people in this program. And, the network that you develop and the ability to reach out to everybody. I saw Shannon when I was at Integrate. I'm, linked in with students, current students, graduates, faculty. We all are there to help each other. They reach out to each other. So you have an ability to develop a network that will be as unique as the program is, and that's a big differentiator too, because there are lots of people that have similar jobs that all of us have, that do similar things to what we all do every day, but not everybody has a network like what you're going to have out of this program.
I think I would just say don't be afraid of the workload. It's laid out really well for work.
Thank you so much, Cindy. Any last thoughts from you, Drew?
Thanks for having us.
All right, well, thank you so much to Shannon, to Cindy, and to Drew for joining us this